Hello there, and welcome to the Construction Revolution podcast. My name is Stephen Rossi, and here on the show, we explore the latest trends, technologies, people, and organizations that are revolutionizing or disrupting the construction industry and are changing what the industry will look like tomorrow. Today, we welcome Clement Cazelot, the CEO and co-founder of Machinery Partner. Clem has combined his family background in construction with his experience working in tech and venture capital to develop technology to help ease the trade process within the heavy machinery industry. Join us as we explore how Machinery Partner is creating solutions to revolutionize how people buy and sell heavy equipment with technology and financing tools made for contractors of all sizes. Hi, Clem. Welcome to the Construction Revolution podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Ready for the revolution.
That's great to hear. I'm excited to learn about how you guys are revolutionizing how people are buying equipment. So why don't we jump right in, and can you tell us about how you founded Machinery Partner and what inspired the idea for the company?
Sure. I mean, as any good French person, I'm always up for a revolution. So that's a baseline. So I was born on that. And the reality is, and thanks for inviting me. Machinery Partner is here to build a backbone for the for the machinery economy. That's what we do. We provide the tools for brands of equipment that have innovations that they want to bring up into new geographies or new type of customers. And so that's what we do. We're focused on the US market, where we partner with brands in Europe, in Korea, or in Canada, in the US that have a specific story to tell because they are specialized on light mining, recycling in the aggregate world, in specific like dry batch plants that have like so much potential in some part of the countries in the US or in Canada. They are like, we focus with manufacturers who have a specific innovation to tell to the market that are not carried by traditional dealer, and we create the logistic supply, the financing, but also like the network of service support across the nation with now north of 150 trucks across the nation that supports our clients to help them be successful. So that's what Machinery Partner is. And on top of that, we help clients understand what's available to them in 2025 and what are all the innovations that they could buy, because there is truly a construction revolution right now with new technologies coming to market and new opportunities that most contractors of all size and most builders didn't have like just even 10 years ago. So that's what Machinery Partner is. We help 200 factories across the US now procure and buy equipment differently. And I started the business with a friend of mine, actually. It was from Ireland who actually saw when COVID started. So when COVID started, I became a father. I had a child and I put my life in perspective, and I come from a family of builders, but then I went into technology, investment, and I realized like having a kid forces you to look up and put the life in perspective, and I wanted to have an impact in the world I came from. And at the same time, when COVID happened, all the supply chain in the world got disrupted. It was impossible like to buy anything, especially in the concrete side. Like was just like everything was disrupted. Like you couldn't buy new batch plant, you couldn't buy anything. And so we decided to become a specialty importers in the US using technology to enable people to better find, fund, and fix their equipment. We started in the aggregate world, and over the past few years expanded to the concrete ecosystem and to the environmental world. So what inspired me is to see that people settle for what they can buy locally instead of settling for what's best. With Jatech, like you're at the forefront of that. Of like, there are countless innovation in the physical world that are not considered, not because they are not good. It's just because they are just not known in the market when the decision need to happen. And so that's what inspired me. I kept coming back to France, seeing my family that is in the build world, just doing the same stuff. Years after years, decades after decades, buying the same equipment, buying the same, like, in my case, like in the roofing world, like just doing the same stuff every year, not knowing that like 100 miles away in Spain, in Poland, which is more than 100 miles away, or in the US, like things are done massively more efficiently because all those suppliers are on the market. So that's a little bit of what Machinery Partner is. We want to be the backbone of the machinery economy, enabling innovation to be distributed faster.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. It's a great story and excellent mission as well. So Can you maybe give us, for someone like me who's not super familiar with buying heavy machinery, what did sort of the traditional process, what does that traditional process look like? And then how has Machinery Partner revolutionized it? And what does it look like with you guys?
Sure, totally. So like the average price of a piece of construction equipment is around 220 grand. To put in perspective, that's the price of a Ferrari, that's the price of a house in most of the US and Canada. And yet, it is purchased through paper and handshake. You're gonna drive down to a dealership. You might go to take a flight, drive to go to a trade show. You will put a deposit. You'll get it at some point, and once you have it, you actually give it to someone who might not have the training to and you give the keys and like go at it. Please use this asphalt paver the right way. Use this like a batch plan the right way. Please don't wreck it. And it's crazy. You don't buy a house and give your keys to someone like after buying like your house and give it to someone being like, I hope you won't wreck it when you use it. That's not how the rest of the world does, but it just happens that in the heavy equipment world, that's how we do it. And so the way Machinery Partner revolutionizes that process is by bringing transparency at the forefront. We help people find the right equipment and the right supply chain for them. What you're going to buy in Quebec, in Ontario, is different from what you're going to buy in Nebraska, in Wisconsin, or in California, because your supply chain you have access for parts, service, support is different. So we help people find what are the right partners for them. We help people fund. If you're a large company or a small company, you have different type of purchasing, retail options, but also from the supplier standpoint. If you're going to sell something in 30 days because you're in the US, or 120 days, 180 days out, you have different needs of financing in order for that transaction to happen. And so we are the merchant of record preventing fraud, which is rampant in the heavy equipment world. And ultimately, it's all about uptime. So we provide actually for the first time one place where you can call for all your issues, diesel, hydraulic, electrical, and we actually route out to the right partners locally. Some people, that's our trucks coming here locally, and sometimes like that's like some local partners that we certified come to your place. So we revolutionize that by bringing transparency through everything from selection to pricing to lead time to ultimately the uptime and support you're going to have. Local dealers already do that, but they do that for one brand, two brands, the brands they represent, and we do that for dozens and dozens of brands that trust us to build a backbone for them.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, being able to use the scale to your advantage and also keeping it local, I think that's important. Like you're not trying to give anyone the just because they want the big fancy machine if it can't be supported in that area that you're not going to give it to them.
Exactly. And the reality in 2025 is there are so many options available, so many partners available for you to trade and support. And it's like giving the perspective for someone to select who's the right machinery partner. That was the name, for the local needs of your business. Like we have everyone from like small contractors to the US Space Force as clients because we were able to match their needs and create a custom solution. The reality of heavy equipment, it's job dependent. It's like construction project dependent. And so as a result, you need to match that level of complexity.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're getting into summer and warmer weather and construction season, essentially, in North America, during this busy season, like a lot of times we see shortages in materials and equipment, delivery delays. How does Machinery Partner ensure that equipment is always readily available and also in terms of uptime, making sure that there's no delays in parts or support or on demand?
Oh yeah, that's and like there are no vacation right now until October. Like that's like all hands on deck. It's so what's interesting in the construction world is we are all like element on a broader supply chain. Everyone needs to do their job so that like there is a waterfall of the project and equipment is a core of it. So it's all about the transparency. And where local dealers are fantastic is because they can be and on a specific type of equipment come and dispatch and have someone in short amount of time to at least be present. The main topic for us, dispatching specialty company, specialty equipment like mobile batch plant and rock crushers, screeners, or shredders. The piece is for us to be transparent on the supply chain. Right now, since January 1st, the transportation hasn't been more messed up, and it's been as messed up as it gets. Europe is bordering a recession right now, which means factories in Europe are slower and slower because they see the demand weakening and going down. And so right now, to be honest, like, we are ahead of schedule on some, we are behind schedule on others. There's a tariff also. People are actually withholding shipping until there is greater visibility on the tariff, because that can actually impact everything so right now it's that's why we're a technology first company that actually put transparency of information at the forefront of it. We screw up at times, like everyone. The main topic, however, is can you understand and share on the other side what that means in construction season? If you screw up an equipment delivery, that means there is probably 2, 3, 5, 8, 20 people that will be impacted, other contractors or the contractors themselves, to do it. So that's why we try to be as transparent as possible. The reality is, because of this equipment shortage and this material shortage, most of our clients become clients because they want to verticalize their supply chain to regain control of this lead time, producing their own concrete when they do like a massive warehouse project, or producing their own aggregate when they do road base and our pavers, or shredding when they need to do specific fields. So actually most of our clients are actually coming to us in order to own their supply chain and move from being traditional builders to builders plus material producer for the pieces that have the most shortage or inflation in their local market. And I'm expecting that to be a continuous trend over the years to come. The same thing that we saw in Europe, where the market has much less fat in terms of margins in projects. As a result, a lot of contractors and builders are actually verticalizing their supply chain in order to own their cost and control their profit at a greater level.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting trend that we're seeing in those mass projects of people making their own, producing their own concrete and even materials, like you mentioned. Like, yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think as those
You,
massive projects
you cannot
continue.
you, you you cannot be competitive right now on a data center project if you're not producing your concrete on site, because of two reasons. First, usually there are remote locations, like the easy locations were already built. So now there are remote locations that have a unique access to power. Usually these power plants might be in remote areas themselves. So you literally, so you have a combination of remote, and then you have a competition of price pressure. So as a result, you actually need to have your own equipment on site on concrete, like to have a mobile batch plant on site in order to be able to compete. So that's where we shine as machinery partner, to create a platform for the buyers and the partnership so that they can buy new brands or new technologies that were not readily available to them before.
Yeah, nice. And you touched on this a little bit, the tariffs and everything that's going on, especially as an importer and someone who's focused on the American market. How are you dealing with that? How are you? Um, what do you sort of see in the future of how that can affect the construction industry?
So I'm not a microeconomist, but I know that I import about $5 to $6 million of equipment every single quarter, and and we're doubling that amount every single year. And so right now, like the reality is the volatility is affecting everyone on the market. So it's painful for everybody, because you don't know your margins, so you don't know how much you can invest on every client in order to help them be successful. However, that is creating a massive tailwind, speaking about a revolution, as a result, because everyone is impacted. Everyone is trying to get smarter and understand better their supply chain, their equipment providers, understanding what are the risks of the local dealers they partner with. So they go online, they research more, they use like ChatGPT and others to have brief and research on what is happening. And as a company that decided since day one to operate on transparency price transparency, lead time transparency, engineering capacity transparency. We happen to be at the forefront of a lot of these discussions, or at least be considered in a lot of these conversations, so we can help the overall ecosystem be better. And this is why I created this company. Like, why we created this company is because we want the market to understand all the options out there and not do something out of legacy, and because this is how it's always been done in that specific state or county.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that makes sense. So, um, Machinery Partner recently announced an AI powered financing solution, which is Machinery Partner Capital Solutions, I believe. How does that innovate and simplify the procurement and buying process for your clients and the contractors?
So as a contractor, when I go rent something with Herc, with United, with whomever, I have an account and I know what is my budget, what I've been approved for, what I'm financed for, and like same on every project. Like the construction world is actually one of the most financially savvy world because we actually operate on thin margins, and as a result, we need to understand our budgets. There are countless tools left and right for that. So at Machinery Partner, however, in the equipment buying side, unless you work with your local credit union, you reach a size to have your ongoing credit lines, the reality of your budget is usually left at the 11th hour when you make the purchase to understand what's my true capital rate on that, what is my true investment that I'm going to do, what is the subsidies that the dealer is going to provide. It's always fairly opaque. So we decided to flip that up on his head and help every builder have upfront the financing options that they have. It turned out on the consumer market, before going to buy a house, you get a letter of pre-approval. Well, turned out in the construction market, you first select your equipment, you work with your project, you go through the whole piece to then understand, am I able to afford the 750, the million, the million five, and I'm reverse engineering this capex cost into my monthly cost and what's coming behind it. And so we decided to put that up front. And so we're leveraging about 40 different data sources, that some that are publicly available, some that are private to us, to actually provide to every builder working with us or in our ecosystem the ability to understand better what are their options for financing and what's going to be the cost of that capital. And actually we bring AI further. Is actually right now we're developing internal solutions so concrete. Concrete is about chemistry. It's about chemistry at scale in order to create a specific material, the second largest commodity after water in the world, to make sure that it's withstand a certain level of compaction or it withstands certain stress when it's being poured. That's a lot of chemistry. Do you put some additive? Don't you? What are like the mixes you're gonna do based on the specs you're trying to reach? That complex, it takes like 5 to 7 years for someone to be really, really good at concrete. It takes like a couple of years to be okay, and like it's a lifetime to be really good at concrete. We're actually developing AIs that are actually going through every project we worked on, every project our OEM worked on, every project our own clients had to answer before, and actually get that contextual knowledge to help people ask the right question on the selection of this innovation and on these machines. What do we need? If you take a mobile batch plant, what do you need? What is going to be possible given your local team availability? So we're actually creating knowledge agents internally using our own proprietary data. To help through the selection and more importantly, even the maintenance. So we've recently been able to highlight the disparity for some of our clients, depending on their operators, on like the return on investment and the abuse put on the machines. Everyone speak about that, like how do you use telematics to know what's working, what's not. Like for the first time, we're able to instrumentalize that across OEMs to help people understand better what's happening on the field. So I'm very bullish on the role of AI, not as a magic technology, like the beauty of the build war, where the last one we're going to be fired through that revolution, but to actually add knowledge and add context in these extremely complex cycles of either operation or purchasing.
Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting, and I see how that would be useful. Like being able to see all that information up front and use that in your decision making criteria is definitely a game changer. So moving a little bit away from uh, just focusing on machinery partner, I know you've started. You have a long history of working and founding a variety of different companies, mostly in tech, but in a variety of industries. So I'm wondering, how have you found the construction industry compared to those other like high tech and finance and different industries you've worked in before?
Sure. So I was born and raised in my parents, like when my father was a GC building houses. My grandparents were like in the mining world and the equipment distribution world for on the ag side with Massey Ferguson. And so I grew up in that world. Like many kids in this world, when you're around 15, you're being sat down and you're like, hey, do you want to continue in that world or do you want to go to do something else? I got a chance to have fantastic mentors, went to university, did computer science. That was like is massively in vogue in the early 2000s, and business school because apparently I was not too bad at speaking, and 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 so I got the chance to spend the past 17 years of my professional career always invest either operating or investing in companies in between the physical and digital world, whether that's are called insurances, where you take the data from the physical world to predict the future of the physical world, whether they are actually marketplaces in the medical tech world, whether they are like whether they are mining companies on like material rares and material science. So it's always like, how do you use science and technology to bring the boundaries of the physical world a little further? So that's what I've been doing for the past 17 years. And for the past 4 years, I've been like decided to drop investing and just focus on machinery partner because I truly believe there is a generational opportunity for all of us in the construction world to reshape how we operate in it. And so that's why I decided to build this backbone of the machinery economy. The reality of the construction world, it's all about how do you use tools to enhance the humans that is used to guide and project manage and operate those. So that's what I did. And the beauty of the construction world, it's actually one of the most pragmatic and clear industry where our project tend to be a few months, like the the feedback loop from success to failure is extremely fast. Sometimes it's extremely frustrating, but I find the construction world. I mean, you see that on the concrete side. It's actually the feedback loop are so fast that it's actually one of the most practical and actually fast adopting ecosystem. It's just the dollars we move are so much bigger. It's not about buying a gizmo at like $200 a month subscription. It's truly like you have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions on the line. If you screw up, and you can actually damage, like if something fails, like people might die. So like the adoption of new technology is really fast. The implementation takes some time because you need to actually be properly educated. But that at the end of the day, it's down to the spreadsheet. Like, can you make the numbers work? And so I love the construction world so much. We're at the intersection of construction, agriculture and manufacturing, depending on like the focus we have. And all these industries are extremely pragmatic, and it's a pleasure.
Yeah. I guess I'm interested to sort of dig a little deeper on that because I think traditionally the construction industry has a reputation for being pretty slow to change and slow to adopt new technology, and even resistant to change with sort of being an older, more traditional industry. But it sounds like that might not be the experience you've
I
had.
would I would respectfully disagree. So I agree that implementing BIM, implementing like pick the name of whatever, like a new project management tool, implementing a new technology on the side, like it takes time, but nobody wants to use pen and paper and handshake with everything. Nobody wants to play to feel to come to a site and have like a manual punch in, punch out and cards. Like everyone uses their phone. Like I actually, everyone is is seeing, we all seeing through our personal lives the pace of evolution that's happening on the consumer side. So the one thing, however, in the construction world that I think a lot of vendors are missing is you're selling risk when you sell innovation. And so there is a need to be very pragmatic on what are we speaking about in order to lead to implementation. So that's more what people have seen. Is like a lot of innovation has been rolled out. The tier one companies. I live in Boston, where Suffolk Construction is one of the most well-run construction companies in the US, if not in the world. Well, they are adopting all these tools and technologies, but they are adopting it in a very thoughtful and programmatic manner. And that's like, I think it's, but when they adopt it, they don't churn. I think a lot of the rest of the industry is adopting a lot of software, but might actually throw it away really fast, or is adopting new technologies, might throw it away really fast. Our industry, we move so much money, so much risk, that de facto we implement slower, but the ability to have the conversation is much faster than any other industry I've seen.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I think it's great to see that the industry is shifting towards being more
I'll,
advanced.
I'll get I'll get you another one. Like that everyone, I'm baffled by the number of people who try to sell to a tier one contractor, I won't name names, but like, and try to meet with the CEO, the COMEX, all that. You do not, if you try to do that, you do not understand how the construction world works. The construction world works as a collection of small businesses that are in charge of specific projects, specific regions, where all of us have our neck on the line in order to make that region working. So if you approach this region, do the grand work to work with the local branch, the local managers, and build the case that makes sense. Yes, and actually there is revolution and evolution. Revolution implies risk and throwing everything away. The people who've been successful, in my experience, are people who've provided evolutions of the local market. I mean, with Jatec, you saw that in so many ways. The evolution leads you to being successful, and working with local players usually leads you to be successful. I see a lot of innovative company being in, I mean, corporate in Boston, in Chicago, in so many other places where people want a revolution and change. You're selling too much risk when you do that in this industry. So there is also a bias to who is speaking out loud, and that's like the construction revolution is a thing. The reality, it's much more of an evolution and an adoption of the key technologies that make sense, and you need to adopt them at the right level, which is usually the branch level or the site level. And sometimes it's in parallel or in conjunction with the existing solution that are there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the something we see all the time. That people sort of they need to see it for themselves, and it needs to be proven. And as you mentioned, like the risk on these projects is massive if something goes wrong. So you got to be confident in what you're putting into whatever you're building.
I was yesterday on the phone with one of the largest concrete producer in the US. And so we have two discussions with them, one at a national level, but one at a few branch levels. And so in this territory, we are literally like starting. It's not like we're not going to sell you a new concrete batch and concrete plant like for $20 million. Like I couldn't even fulfill that if I wanted. However, let's walk back from your number one pains. Number one pain, uptime, fixing electrical issues. Great. Let's start here. Build a, so like we can be the tier one for you. Let's start there, and little by little build a solution so that ultimately we'll help you buy some technologies that are like will blow your mind out once we've been proving ourselves into it. So I think too many companies in the construction tech world try to sell a revolution instead of walking back from the customers and what can they adopt on the short term, and do a crawl walk run.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So moving to sort of even more broader, like I'm sure as you bring on suppliers for machinery partner, you must be exposed to all kinds of innovation in the industry, specifically in heavy equipment. I'm curious, what innovations have you seen that excite you the most, and how do you sort of ensure that with all the new technology, you're looking at you're sort of being exposed to all the new technology and keeping up with it.
Yeah, great question. It's exceptional. I'll start with the most far-fetched. Like robotics is really starting to bleed in our ecosystem. I was literally with someone about like some Komatsu underground underwater dozers like for some underwater project. I'm like, this is exceptional. We aren't touching that. That is actually a fragment of the market that needs to have access to it. But there are more innovations than the world is ready to digest right now. So that is truly a reality. Then there are three layers of innovation. Actually, I'll throw a few facts for you. Do you know how many new equipment manufacturers were created in the past 5 years?
Hundreds, I would guess.
200. In the past 5 years, there are 200 new manufacturers that are usually spins off, employees of some existing factories that go on, take loans. Actually, during COVID, all that were like, I can do that so much better. 200 new manufacturers, all coming to the market with innovations in the past 5 years that are lacking the distribution network for it. These innovations are usually structured around three things. One, a technological change around electrical, like so everything is moving from diesel hydraulic to diesel electric. That is more efficient. That is more like so you have a lot on technology change that allows to build extremely powerful equipment with a much more lightweight build or different type of bill of materials. You have a lot on telematics that allows remote operation, that allows actually, so in the concrete world, to have much more complex batch plants deployed at local sites that in the past you wouldn't be able to be to have this sophistication of a mix unless you have a proven operators locally. But you can now have everything used from a central command and control that is with the manufacturers that actually are always the local territory managers that allows like a much more complex operation locally. And you have folks like Command Alcon and others that are leading the pack on the software side to enable this physical world to get more and more complex. So you have new technology on the electric transition. You have more complex local operation enabled through telematics and now over the past 5 years through actually automation of the process, especially in concrete, but shredders are the same, or you can have so much more complexity in the chamber on how the sequences you're running and in order to process better. And the last piece is around the workforce. We have so much such a gap in the workforce side. So I do actually see a lot of innovation on what is enabling training and support of the workforce, new part supplies, new parts, new training and certification so it's around the machine. It's not the machine itself. But these are like the three core innovation that I see. Technological change, more complex operation on the field, and actually very specific an intentional program to train a workforce that is exposed to more and more complexity on the field because of new technologies, and might not have been trained or might require more a different way to operate on the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, in term looking even broader than heavy equipment, are there other innovations or trends in the industry that you think have the opportunity to revolutionize construction in the next five, let's say 5, 10 years, or even sooner?
So that's a great question. So there is one, and that's why we launched Machinery Partner Capital Solutions. That is around finance. When you look back on the cost of owner, like the in a low margin ecosystem, which is the construction world, like we operate on razor thin margins across everything, but we move so much volume that actually that's what end up yielding the profit in our industry. So there is a true topic on the cost of the asset. And so there is a lot of innovating finance, pay as you use, other type of financing product like seasonal payments, like so you pay for your equipment only during the high season and not when everything sits idle. So all that actually used to be locked up in the bigger companies that have the sophistication to either create this product with their own banks or move so much volume of equipment with with an OEM, that the OEM is going to subsidize that. But I see a democratization of this complex financial product, especially in North America, creating a rise of the access and ownership of specialty machines. Like, how do I afford to buy $1 million plant? Well, let's walk back through what that means on your monthly balance sheet and the ramification for it. So that's like one of the key innovation outside of the pure machinery part that I'm very excited about. Of course, the AI piece, I think there is a like there's a lot of discussion on like the demo effect of artificial intelligence, especially in a chat GPT context. The question is, what does that mean for my business daily? And actually what I'm excited by, so we have an entire team dedicated on support. And so actually the rise of the ability for them to search and access more of this context, this contextual knowledge around very complex tasks is actually what leads them to be able to perform better. Hey, who in Wisconsin right now is our top expert on electrical? Have they been deployed in the past on that specific type of issues? And what are even the manuals or the training plans that I would have to do if I wanted to train someone on that specific topic? These are like that's why in all companies in the construction world, we have our old timers who are like the mentors that you call and be like, hey, I've never seen that. Oh, we screwed up massively on this project. How do you recover from it? The rise of AI as this assistant that can truly enhance us to do better and have access to a broader corpus of knowledge is a second piece that I see and I'm so excited. It's going to take a few years for us to digest what to do effectively, and there is a tsunami of innovation. The question is what goes into production, what can we adopt and implement back to your piece. Every single construction company I know is trying some level of AI systems. The people, however, who are truly implementing them are far and few in between, not because they don't want, it's because things tend to be too generalist to be implemented. So that's the topic of it. So that's the two main pieces. Like there is a outside of and on the technologies, the robotics piece, I'm extremely like additive manufacturing, which is a massive topic, but has been forever. But in fields I'm on were the final innings of on like concrete printing and all that. So much good things.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think the AI one is the way you sort of phrase it. Like construction obviously has a issue in terms of people, and people are sort of aging out of it. So I think being able to train or and use models to instead of calling on that expert, being able to get support elsewhere is huge for the industry as it moves on.
Not to sound like an ultimate, but just to be like to put things in perspective. When I grew up, we were already speaking 20 years ago, 30 years ago about not having enough workforce. So nothing has changed. And I get the numbers and the trend and all that and people getting in and out of the workforce, but also like we aren't distributing the wealth well. We aren't paying people well. So that's normal that like, and so I also see local captain of industries that have zero workforce issue because they are actually transferring the wealth properly to their local workers and treating people as partners on a project by project basis. And so there is a true like looking in the mirror of how did we get there and what to do. Like the people who are truly successful in their workforce management are people who are involved in their community. And that's the beauty. You ask me like, what do I think about the construction world? I think this is the number one, if there is one industry that impacts the local economies, that's the construction ecosystem. The reason why I started Machinery Partner is I strongly, firmly believe that the more industrial equipment you distribute, the better the local communities are as a result of it. And they are better because then the employers, local employers can invest more in that local community to foster talent, foster the trade, help people access to extremely dignifying career, but also extremely impactful for the local community. I'm a byproduct of it. I saw the more we had in the construction world, like the better was the infrastructure of my city that became one of the fastest growing city and part of in Europe. And so that's the reality of it. And America has so much, and Canada have so much opportunities. And that's back to at the local level. Do we do enough to incentivize the local communities to be part of this fast growing revolution?
Yeah, for sure. You hit it right on the head. As we wrap up here, in terms of the next, let's say 5, 10 years, the future of Machinery Partner, I'm sure there's lots of things you're working on, as we've touched on some of them that have already come out. Is there anything that's in the works that you can share of things you're working on and how you see the company evolving?
So, great question. We Machinery Partner is building the backbone of the machinery economy. We're enabling this whole ecosystem that is weighing more than a ton, and that is worth more than 100 grand. Like you have no FedEx, you have no Amazon dealing in that world helping you, and then once it's delivered, it's actually the least important part of the journey is the delivery. The most important part is the operation after. And so that's what I'm maniacally obsessed about. In order for us to invest more and more in this network, it's about the topic of volume. And like as the equipment becomes more complex, more electrical, it's like for us, it's a topic of going segment after segment. So I'm so excited. We are like right now in the aggregate, concrete, and environmental, which is a shredding, wood, plastic world. Next step for us is actually the metal world. There are like so many adjacent markets where there are infinite level of opportunity and overlaps. Construction, we're one of the largest consumer of metal in the whole industrial world because we have that in all our constructions. And so anyway, so as Machinery Partner evolve, it's about for us expanding in all these segments that are plagued by fragmentation and opacity in terms of pricing, lead time, engineering options. And so that's what I'm excited about. And the more we expand, the more we can invest on having a tier one infrastructure supporting sellers and buyers across the spectrum in North America.
Oh, that's great. I'm excited to see sort of how you grow over in the upcoming years. So to wrap up here, if anyone is interested and is in the process, I guess, of looking for new equipment and wants to learn more and get started with Machinery Partner, where should they go and what does that process look like?
Send an email to clement@machinerypartner.com and I'll jump on it. Otherwise, go on machinerypartner.com. The reality is, if you're buying a piece of specialty equipment, by specialty I mean stuff that Caterpillar doesn't do, and stuff that you cannot rent at Sunbelt, like contact us. We'll help you navigate it. We'll quote you and help you understand what are your options. We're this procurement network and nationwide dealerships that allows you to access the right equipment. So go on machinerypartner.com, give us a call, or send me directly an email at clement@machinerypartner.com and say that the Construction Revolution sent you, and I'll take care of you. So the reality is there are so many options, whether you buy with us or not. Like, it's not the topic. Is like we are, that's the construction world is one of the most collegial and supportive industries that there is out there. And so my sole goal is to help make sure that you're well set and working with the right partners, and working with the right dealers locally or with the right manufacturers that will be able to take in consideration the specialty of your project.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for the time today and for all your insight. And it's been great learning about Machinery Partner.
Thanks for bringing that together. Thanks, like your 50 plus pod in the loop. It's fantastic. Like, I appreciate all the research you're doing to extract out of us all the specifics, so we can be insightful to the audience. So thank you so much.